Well, welcome to another Darby Racing podcast. It's my pleasure to introduce Mark Holland and our special guest today, Darby Racing's racing manager, Dr. Loren Wadsworth. We've got to laugh anyway, but Loren, welcome, and it's great to have you on today to discuss how you got involved with racing, your role at Darby Racing, and many, many stories to go through. Let's start right at the beginning. Your background in racing or horses, I believe.
Yeah.
Growing up over in New Zealand, you're a Kiwi.
I'm a Kiwi. Proud Kiwi.
There's no racing in your background, is that right?
Not really, no. Sort of grew up just absolutely animal obsessed. I wanted to be a veterinarian as a young girl and got into the pony scene, pony club, all the lessons, all the things. Absolutely mad about it. I found out later, actually, my granddad was a racehorse owner himself. He had a horse called Gardone that lived in the back paddock.
Is that right?
My mum and her sisters used to bounce on the trampoline and sort of see this horse over the fence. I think it raced at Ellerslie. I'm pretty sure it won one day. So that was a big highlight for him. But it wasn't a theme for our family growing up. I guess a little bit taboo, the racing scene, for those that are unfamiliar with it. I know, Scott, we've spoken about that before.
It's a common theme in Derby racing. I don't think any of our
I was
families
just going to say,
are in racing whatsoever.
it is a common theme amongst all of us. Same, as I've mentioned, there was no horses in my background at all. So where it came from, I have no idea, and you're the same.
The love for the animal.
Yeah.
It just, it's one of those addictive things, isn't it? Once you get a feel for it.
Maybe that's the attraction of the Derby racing group. We're all
Well, my brother Darren, I remember we went for a pleasure ride for his daughter's 18th birthday because she just wanted us to go for a pleasure ride. And Darren said, "Are you going to come?" I said, yeah. So we went on the pleasure ride and Darren is on the horse. He's doing these ones and he ended up saying to me, "I do not know what you're seeing these things, man. I just don't know what you're seeing them." So there's my brother who just cannot understand what I see in horses.
Yeah.
Doesn't get it.
What drew you to the horse? What particularly do you love? The bond? The look of them?
Well, so I had eventers growing up, part thoroughbred, some that were off the track as well, evented to quite high level. And I think it was just their ability to pick things up and learn so quickly. They're very willing, they move forward. You know, there's nothing worse than getting on a little pit pony on a trail ride and they won't move and you're trying to, come on, Freckles or whatever to get them going. And instead, a thoroughbred's always very willing, forward moving, the perfect competitor, really.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me into the breed, I'd say. Funnily enough, got turned off vet science. The more practical you did, the more you realise, a lot of scanning mares. I'm not interested in someone's pet goldfish or budgie or cat or dog. I just couldn't.
Budgies. I bred budgies once.
You bred budgies?
Yes, I bred budgies and peach faces, yes.
Yeah, right. There's something I have never heard from you.
Quite fascinating.
He used to, just quietly too, he used to steal them from down the local pet shop.
Yeah.
We can say that now because that pet shop's long gone.
Yeah.
And him and his mates used to go down there and anyway.
That's dreadful.
It is. Very, very young age.
I'm judging you now.
Yeah,
Used to
absolutely.
get up
We
to.
can be judgmental on him now.
Now, before we go through your history, your work history, you are the current racing manager for Darby Racing.
Yeah.
You're involved heavily on the management side, the bloodstock team, sales. We do a bit of everything here.
Yeah.
We do.
But you actually got 3 racing managers here. Mark was the racing manager before you started.
Yep.
Now in the sales, I did.
I bestowed it upon thee.
Yeah, that's not what you told me. You were happy to palm it across.
Humbly. Well, again, let's go down that path. When he initially come to me and said, "I think it's time to expand the business a bit," and it was like, okay, yep. And he'd been at me for a little while saying, "I think you'd be good in sales, man." And I'm like, "Sales? You're joking me, right?" And he kept saying, "I think we'd be good at sales." And it was like, but he kept saying, "I don't know who we're going to get to take over the racing manager role."
Yeah.
And then it started The whole thing started with who
Actually,
can we get?
I'm curious to know. Obviously, I was working at Gary Portelli's as his racing manager.
Yep.
You were the Darby racing manager.
Yep.
We had a little bit of back and forth on the phone, a little bit of banter over
Yeah,
the
we
years
did.
that I was there.
She was hard work, wasn't she?
Oh, she was terrible. She was terrible.
I was doing my job.
Every time Gary would go away, I'd be like, oh, no, we're stuck with Loren.
Why do we have that
was
jockey
some
on?
of your best times.
I know.
Think of
Yeah.
Diodoro, thank you. Saddled
Yeah.
up a couple of wins with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll touch on how you came to Derby racing, but let's just reminisce a little bit about come from. You've obviously you're educated. You've done a science degree.
She's advanced educated compared to us.
I mean, I'm struggling to even read some of the words you've got written down there.
Yeah,
It's
I think you
beyond me.
thought
I left at year 10.
Yeah.
So
Me too. Couldn't wait to get
for
out.
those watching, listening,
Yeah.
what's your
So-
background in education? Give us a little bit of a background.
Ironically, I was no good at physics. I did not have that mathematical mind, but loved science, absolutely. Fell in love with the animal science, more so the physiology science of the way the body works, which does actually come into the role now.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be part of my career, but I do actually use the science degree, believe it or not. And zoology, so study of animals. But no, I wasn't a zookeeper, Scott. I know that was.
We were just talking before, trying to get the brief. We thought, so what? You're studying to sweep at the zoo?
Yeah, picking up the manure,
Pick up
just
the monkey poo and
Quite ignorant.
feeding
we are.
apples to the elephants. No.
So
none
you're
of that.
well. You're definitely well educated. You've done a business management degree as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how long in uni?
4 years.
Right.
Yeah.
You finish uni.
Mm-hmm.
You come out of uni. Where do you go?
Actually, it was during uni that I worked each holiday for New Zealand Bloodstock. So I grew up about 5 minutes drive from the sales centre, and you sort of drive past and you see all the cars in the car park and,
Right.
oh, there's horses in there. So, of course, and you go and check it all out. An amazing sales company there.
What was your role there?
The early days, I think the first one was packaging up the catalogues, which you used to send by snail mail. Now it's all digital, we open up our catalogues on the iPad. But, you used to pack thousands of catalogues to send around the world, really.
Wow.
And so that was sort of the start point. Then went into the repository looking after the X-rays when they were films rather than now, again, it's all digital. Then it went to a USB and then finally went to, you just type in the code and away you go. But worked with the marketing team looking after the clients and a little bit of bid spotting.
Broad spectrum.
Signing up the sales, and through those roles you meet so many people, and I don't think I quite grasped at the time how important that would be and the type of people I was sort of rubbing shoulders with, and had no idea that they were a big deal. Like, you got...
How old were you then?
Oh, gosh. So that was back in my very early 20s,
Great experience. So,
Yeah.
you fell in love with the horse through eventing and riding them.
Yep.
You then go and study. You do the science side of things.
Yep.
Your first job's at NZB. Why are you still at uni? What about when you finish uni? What are you thinking? Your mum and dad are probably into you going, what are you going to do? You're not going into that thoroughbred game, are you?
Well, I guess it was sort of at the fault of probably John Foote. He was the
Bloodstock
main
agent.
bloodstock
One of the
agent.
most respected bloodstock agents in Australasia.
You got to pinch yourself. Sometimes meeting the right people is absolutely crucial.
Yeah,
but
big time.
again, I never knew how big a deal he was and what sort of horses he'd purchased until, you get to know him. And I was called Footy's shadow for a while there. I got to
How
follow
long
him
did you
around
spend with
lots
him?
of different sales. Well, it was actually over a couple of years. I sort of, once I got a bit more engrossed in the sales and racing side, then, of course, started, I went over to Sydney and looked at the Old Inglis complex and followed him around there and eventually up to Magic Millions. And that was really important, just to tee up with the right person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at that stage, I mean, I knew what a nice eventer or a nice pony looked like, but to actually get the fundamentals of what produced speed and what he was looking for.
Yeah.
Do you remember
It's
back
huge.
those days? Because we, on one of the other podcasts, talk about type and how we came up. We knew nothing to start with.
Yeah.
Was it mind-boggling in those early days? 'Cause, you're part of the bloodstock team now as well, where we we're trying to find the next champion. How did you find it? We found it daunting looking at all these horses.
I think looking at the individual horse wasn't so daunting for me. The pedigrees, though, I don't know about you, but I'd look through the pages and John would be able to, look at something in the fourth dam and say, oh, I know something about that horse, whether it was she used to be a certain way or I bought a couple of foals out of that mare or whatever, through generations of horses. And I just thought, gee, I'm never going to get to that stage of knowing anything even on the second dam. And now you're almost a bit embarrassed when you're going, oh, I remember when that horse was in training with Gai, or that was, a family that I knew so well through my previous roles. So, I guess it was just overawing looking at that
We do see that
age.
in sale, don't we? Every now and then you hear, and you're like, oh, what's going on? I used to be involved with this horse. Damn, second dam. Oh, okay, no worries.
No real relevance other than it might have been a friendly horse that I like to cuddle.
Gorgeous. Oh, she was the loveliest horse. So you spent that time with John Foote. Mm-hmm. What was your first role in the thoroughbred industry? But before that, come on, tell me what your parents had you down for doing. Like, did they give you free rein? Did
they thought I was absolutely mad.
Bonkers.
Absolutely mad.
Did they?
Yeah. Well,
what did they have you pegged to be?
So, a little bit more context. My sister's very intelligent, natural academic, I'd say, like a little bit of an overachiever.
Yeah.
She got a scholarship to the high school that I went to, so a private all-girls school. Mum and Dad spent a lot of money on that and probably forced them to reach a bit higher than they ever had before. Mm. And, of course, as the younger sister, you get offered a spot to go to this school, and my focus was a bit more sports back then. Like, I was a good student, don't get me wrong. I didn't fail anything. I did quite well, but my focus was the riding, so it was more the equestrian captain was more the title I was shooting for. But, then rolling into roles, what you were going to do at the end of uni, it was sort of that feeling of, well, you should be a veterinarian or probably a lawyer or, what are you going to do? And I'm going to go and work for Magic Millions as their marketing assistant, marketing out of the blue. Like I'd done a little bit of it at uni, but really like science was my passion. It was bizarre. And then it was all because I loved these horses. And
so you didn't really know
they thought I was
where
mad.
You sat, like, people say, where did you start syndicating? Kind of fell in that same thing, was strapper and wanted to be a jockey. But so you didn't know when you left uni, you didn't know, I'm going to be a trainer. I'm going to be. When did you know in your heart you were going to be a gun racing manager?
Thank you, Scott. No, it sort of was a natural progression that happened very slowly.
It does.
There were no real standout females that had these careers in racing in management positions. There was Gai Waterhouse.
Yeah.
That's all I knew.
Yeah, because what year are we talking there?
Oh, geez. This was
75.
The 80s.
No.
That's what we're talking, the 80s and the 90s. And
10, 11?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I obviously knew of Gai and really I didn't know of anyone. I didn't know that a racing manager job existed, for example. So Mum and Dad were like, what are you working towards? Have you got any idea? Are you going to use your degrees? Are you going to have a 9-to-5 job where we can actually see you and have a weekend? And you're like, no, and I'm going to get paid pretty average for the first part of my working career.
So what is the first job? What's the first job you took?
So it was a marketing assistant.
Yes.
And I was actually really fortunate with the role that it was only supposed to be a short-term placement to sort of get my groove in the industry. So Magic Millions.
Magic Millions,
yep. And that was through Russell Warwick, who I did a yearling prep with at Westbury Stud, and through Vin Cox, who was working at Magic's at the time.
How long?
I was there for about a year and then went down to Sydney for the races.
And never returned.
Well, kind of went that way, Gai Waterhouse mentioned I went to track work through a friend. Bruce Slade that was working for New Zealand Bloodstock back in the day with me. Said, come along to track work in Sydney and check it all out.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was when I Love the City won his big Group 1.
Yep.
Actually, that was probably a highlight race day in the early days for me. But went along to track work with Gai, and she basically said, my PA's going away for 2 weeks, and I want someone to cover it. Could you come in and do that?
How does she just, from track work, how does she even know who you are?
Well, I mean, you get.
I mean, she knows everyone, right?
And absolutely, I don't know, maybe Bruce said something, whatever, you don't know anything about the sport, but you're bloody enthusiastic. You know that feeling when I think you can tell when people turn up at track work or they turn up at the trials and the races and their eyes are just darting and they're looking at all the horses and they're taking it all in.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it was a bit like that.
Yeah.
Well, if she's identified you, I mean, we know how good you are through working through it, but if she's seen something, and she is obviously a legend of the sport, she obviously saw something in you straight away. I mean, what's your thoughts on Gai? I mean, she's an icon. What did you think when you first met her, and what was your experience with Gai? She's one of our trainers now, her and Adrian Bott.
Yeah.
And we're heading to a Melbourne Cup, which we'll talk about a bit later. But what's your earliest thoughts of Gai and what she did for you?
Her energy is just unrivaled.
Yeah.
I don't know how you have a career that long at the top of a game and just have that much enthusiasm for it.
Yeah.
And it's the little things she picks up, attention to detail.
Right.
She'll spot someone chewing gum across a race course and be like, they shouldn't be doing that. But even the principles in terms of just everything being meticulous is fascinating.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
She basically said, I'll give you a year in my business covering every part of it.
Right.
So I was the racing assistant there, and it basically wrapped up. I was going back to New Zealand because, of course, all the family were back there.
Yep.
I finished up at the Karaka Sales, doing her notes in the catalogue and bought a few horses out of the sale, and then I was staying in NZ.
Right.
But, of course, you're hooked then, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
How many jobs like that we went to, there's one race day in particular, Epsom Day while I was working for Gai. We just had everything winning in that era.
Didn't she?
We had, Piero it was the 2-year-old Triple Crown winner, and then we rolled into this Epsom Day, and, winning one Group 1 in a day is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Start off the card, Breeders' Plate, Whittington and War, Quinella.
Right.
You're like, gee, how good's this? Big group of owners all excited.
Yeah.
Shahad runs a placing in the Jim Crack.
Yeah.
Roll into the Craven Plate, Western Symbol, beautiful big Zabeli horse, runs second. You got Prasier now standing at Rich Hill doing an incredible job, right?
Yeah.
Runs second in the Spring Champion.
Wow.
And you're thinking, oh gosh, you would have wished they could have won.
Yeah.
And then you win the Metrop and the Epsom back to back.
Wow.
2 Group 1s.
That's just what she did back then. She was
Glencaddam Gold.
Wow.
Just unreal. It was an incredible time to be part of the stable, and I haven't even touched on more joyous, Sweet Idea,
and
Fiorente.
That was the era that we talk about back in our early days, where we used to see Gai winning everything. Like you see Chris Waller kind of dominating or Darby.
Yeah.
And we used to be like, how can we get a horse with Gai? They just win everything.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was that era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where she just dominated.
Felt everything you touched was gold.
I remember even back when I was in Mark Connor's stables, which would have been about 2000, she was on fire then.
Yeah.
It's like Chris Waller now, just a juggernaut. They're just winning everything. She was so hard to beat.
Yeah.
And that tried and true of her teaching them, get on pace. Because she's done the stats, right? And she knows that I think it's about 80% plus of horses that on pace win.
Yeah.
So she's said, well, that's how they win, and
Fit
that's how I'm going to
horses,
train them.
on speed.
Fit,
And
hard, rock hard.
Aren't we seeing that now that we're back with Gai, the first one back with Gai and Adrian was Goldman. Now we're seeing the babies come through.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the videos come through, the amount of barrier work, the amount of education about getting them out of those gates and into that stride. Yeah. Unrivaled. Never seen anything like. Been with a lot of trainers. No wonder all her horses are on pace.
Yeah.
It's no fluke. It's hard work, education.
Yeah.
And
they put so much into it, and it's so much so now. What's been like it for years and years and years, and you would do it when you do the pre-race reports. As soon as you see a Gai Waterhouse horse in the rate, you go, well, there's the front runner. There's the leader. And you don't even bother contesting it. Don't even try, because if you contest it and take it on, if we've got a front runner, let it lead, just sit off it. Because if you want to contest it, Gai will beat you. Just let it lead, and hopefully we can pick it up.
I think as well, just things like the figure of 8 work that they do. I mean, you've seen it on the videos, but that would happen a lot. And young horses and blinkers too. Not many stables sort of gear them up, but it's all part of that process of building confident youngsters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Working them abreast on the track and getting a bit competitive. And how often does that help them when they head to the races? Gimcrack and breeders.
All the trainers have got their different methods. Some use the beach and all different ways of training. But one thing definitely noticing this time back with Gai, even things like most of the trainers have sent our Magic Moons and yearling, classic yearlings in for a week or two and out. That's stock standard. She has them in for like 4 to 6 weeks. Full education. They've already been broken in, educated, but she gives them that each to their own. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like she's.
That's right.
I'm really excited to have, our yearlings and European horses across all these great stables, and as I said, they've all got their own methods. So, but Gai, an icon. You went from Gai's, had a great time there, learnt plenty.
Yeah.
And then you go to the master trainer, Bart and James. Is that right?
Yeah. So obviously worked in a few of the major stables in Sydney, but I actually had a little hiatus working for a finance company in the city.
Right.
And just on, it was one of these sort of 9 to 5 jobs, and so you've got your weekends and you're really well paid. And I think within the first couple of weeks got a pay rise too. And I was like, how good's this? But had a call from James Cummings, who's actually, he might have been on his honeymoon or something, and they were away overseas, and sort of said, we need a racing assistant, and just wanted to check. I know you're sort of out of racing at the moment, but would you consider it? And I was absolutely obsessed. I got a book called The Master. I don't know if you've read it.
Yeah.
All about Bart and the horses he'd acquired from NZ specifically. That was the interest growing up, was that he really focused on going and buying horses from NZ and taking them back, and of course going on and winning the Melbourne Cup. And I just thought, you don't get an opportunity like that. Bart and James were just starting out their partnership together. And I thought, how do you turn that down?
Yeah.
You got to run with it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we didn't have So You Think was done at that point. He was sort of the headline Melbourne Cup horse before me. But I think Norzita was just wrapping up her career when I started there. We had Precedence. He was a real stalwart old war horse. I think he ran in 4 Melbourne Cups. The last was while I was there. It's funny the things you, like even just speaking now, thinking about, putting the acceptance through for the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah.
You had to do that?
Noms acceptances, scratchings, gear changes, and putting down, Ollie to ride. And
wow. So how did that end there? And your next work was with Gary Portelli, which is where you came from to us.
Yeah.
How did it end with Bart and James? Was that when James got the job for Darby? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Right.
And,
so you would have been at James's when we had horses there. We
so
had
you
Burning
just
Passion
teed
and-
up because
yeah.
you just bought Burning Passion.
Right.
And so I remember him in the
So you were
Guree
there
days.
when that was happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
he
just
was
to
such a
just to
beautiful horse.
digress a little bit, like we were with James for a little while, and
Yep.
I was racing manager then, so I had a lot of chats with him, and he's brilliant. Like
He's great, isn't
just
he?
so good to talk to.
Yeah.
Such a nice guy. What was Bart like? I never met him. I never knew
Well,
anything
so-
about him.
yeah.
And not anything about him, but never met him. Never heard anyone that had met him. What was he like? What was Bart like?
You know, by the time I was working for the company, he was taking more of a back seat, which was a bit unfortunate. But, you know, that happens as you get older.
Yeah.
And he was handing over the reins. And you could see there were some really strong principles, though, that came through
Right.
and would have been, you know, just absorbed by James. And James is a very intelligent guy, you know.
Very.
He thinks things through,
Yeah.
ponders them, probably more so than your average trainer.
Absolutely.
Did you have much to do with Bart?
Yeah, actually, through Magic Millions, when he used to go to sales when I was working there, he got the buggy. It was before Gai
Like
had
Gai
the
does.
buggy. Yeah,
Right.
he started it, right?
Right.
And it was my job to drive the buggy one day,
Is that right?
and it was unreal. He must have taken a little bit of a shine to me, I think. He always travelled around the sales with a big group of people, right? And you'd sort of pull up at the end of the row, and this horse would walk, you know, straight towards him and back, and he'd just sit there and
So it's very like what Gai does now.
very light.
Same as what
Yep.
she does.
And just
Right.
quietly,
And,
just quietly, you might have to be driving the buggy
Yeah, I know.
again.
Yeah.
Be-
Bad
Oh, is
knee. Good to know
The
that
knee
you've got
brace.
experience. Good to know that you've got experience with the buggy, because we may be hitting up Inglis and Magics for a buggy for Uncle Mark to get around the sales.
We had a little bit of practice of carrying you around the sales last Magics.
Yeah, you did too.
Mm.
You did too.
Everyone hit the deck.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, you pull up to the end of the row, you got a horse coming out, and someone would come over and say, "Oh, Bart, this is such and such," you know, pull up your catalogue and show them and what we're looking at, just checking off on it. And as they obviously passed on, or it's a bit offset in that knee, and so Bart's going, "Come, listen to what I've got to say," sort of thing.
Is that
So you're
right?
leaning in, and he said, "They don't know what they're talking about, these blokes." And I was like, "Whoa," you know, like that's a bit harsh. Sort of
He was a real character. apparently.
character, yeah. And he said, "Watch it. Yep, walk it again." And this horse walks up and back. He said, "See how it's hitting the ground perfectly square
Yeah, right.
and pulling through."
Yeah.
He said, "You'll never have a problem with that."
You won't have a problem with it.
Because his team was sort of going, "Oh, it's a bit heavy, Bart, you know, like that offset knee.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Maybe you don't." They don't know what
I
they're talking
struggle with
about.
that.
All about just, he only needed to see a couple of strides, how it was hitting the ground.
Yeah.
Nah, not a problem.
You'll be fine. Wow. There you
Yeah.
go.
So it's
Fascinating guy.
It's quite the apprenticeship when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, educated. You know, Mark and I were only year 10 dropouts.
Yeah, we're knuckle draggers.
You've done degrees. You've worked for 2 sales companies, Magic Millions, NZB, the best in the business, Gai and Bart.
Yeah.
And then your next trip is with Gary Portelli just after we win our Golden Slipper.
Mhm.
And that probably, with all this, sets you up to come to Darby Racing. What was your time like at Gary's, and how was that different to what you'd already experienced under James and that? What did you come away with from Gary's stable? It's much smaller stable, very different trainer to those.
Yeah, different approaches to the training systems. Obviously, it was moving into that racing manager job for Gary. And as you know, we worked really closely together. Gary was someone that, you know.
So Gary's was a step up to racing manager, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was sort of the little bit more responsibility. And in a stable like his, is very hands-on too.
Yeah.
So you're at track work, you're at the trials, you're at the races, you're back to the office, you're doing a full day in the office, you're doing updates when needed, but Gary would largely do a lot of that.
Because he would have, how many horses would he have had then?
It was about 60.
About 60 in training. Yeah.
I think that was right.
So compared to your guys and Bart's and there's a big drop in numbers. So, more hands-on, smaller stable.
Bart's system wasn't that much bigger, but it was just a completely different bunch of horses in retrospect.
Yeah.
Like Gary's system, obviously he had syndicators in the camp like yourself, so it was a lot of small percentage owners, whereas Bart and James, it was Dada Tension Nam.
Yeah.
It was Eduardo Coanco that you were doing the updates for and typing up notes and stuff. So it was a completely different ownership model. Working with guys like yourselves.
That was a joy, obviously. It was a pleasure.
Well, yeah, it's quite the introduction.
Of course, yes.
I mean, we don't mind saying, we've said before, some of the best horses we've been involved in have been the hardest work, naturally. There's more pressure, there's small owners, and when you get that good, it starts out all so fun, but when money comes involved, not all owners, and most of them really good, but you get this percentage of owners that just, it gets really intense. And She Will Reign had just won the Slipper, and that was another hard horse for Darby to manage. And what was it like on your side?
So were you at
that was a lot of pressure, actually.
Were you at Gary's when She Will Reign was there?
Yes, but after the Slipper. So there was a period between the Cummings stable and Portelli's where I was actually working as a journalist, which sounds really funny now to say that.
Is there anything you haven't done? That's right.
No, right?
Journalist as well. That's not on the sheet here.
No, in the beginning days. I remember
that. I remember she told me.
No, in the beginning days, Gai's term was many hats. You had to be able to wear many hats, and that was sort of you're sort of like a multi-purpose tool or a screwdriver that could do just about. You want me to do something? I'll do it. What is
Swiss Army knife? That's what you're.
Swiss Army knife. That's the term.
It's a good point, because in today you add more value to yourself by knowing more things.
Yeah.
You can specialise in one or two things, but experienced media, you name it. I mean, obviously, when you do your own business, I had to do it all.
Yeah.
And then you start to delegate. And whatnot. So it's a good tool.
There was a little period where I was the Ramwick clocker.
Really?
Yeah. So you go in and you watch all the track work and.
Was that with Craig the clocker?
I took over from Clocker, Clocker Thompson, from racing.
Wow.
So hang on. You worked in a zoo. You worked for sales companies.
In a zoo.
To work in a zoo. I'm not a doctor.
You've been a vet, racing manager, rider, clocker, photographer, and journalist.
Well,
have we missed anything?
I don't know. You've got your own. You've got Budgie Smuggler.
Yeah, Budgie Smuggler.
Pizza maker.
Pizzas are
connoisseur.
Yeah.
Pizza connoisseur. Yeah.
Syndicator.
Yeah, syndicator.
Breeder.
But they all have the common theme. Entrepreneur.
Stallion owner.
We've got a lead singer. We've got
a guitarist.
A breaker.
Yeah. Breaker. Yeah, we got it all covered. But whatever you want, throw it at us. We can do it all.
In all seriousness, but
this wasn't supposed to be a sales pitch, but
in all seriousness, for a young person, if a young person is watching it, it's so important to be.
Do it all if you get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you might find at the 10th thing you do, you might find at the first thing you do, you're passionate. I never knew syndication. I fell into that. I knew I wanted to be in business. I loved business. And I loved horses. I loved breeding.
Yeah.
But syndication sort of, and that's what happens. You can fall in. You may still not have found. You may have found your home as a racing manager, but you wouldn't call yourself just the racing manager at Darby Race. We're a bit of a family, and we all get in and do everything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what was it like on that side of the fence with horses like She Will Reign and the half brother Time to Reign? Let's bring Time to Reign into the conversation.
Wasn't quite into the fold at that point, but there was a lot of pressure. I remember it was palpable.
Really?
She Will Reign.
Right.
Because, of course, slip occurs. You've won a slipper.
Yeah, absolutely.
What happens now?
Yeah, and you're talking, you're in your stable is the best 2-year-old in the country.
And also, for Gary, I think there was a famous quote about Gai trying to snip She Will Reign off Gary.
He did too, straight after that.
There were big trainers, no disrespect to Gary. But
have I told that story?
But
no.
I think I should tell that story.
Sorry, I'll keep that one and save them. But there were big stables sort of looking over, going,
They were.
what's he doing, and will he win another race? Nah, Gary Portelli, who's he in terms of producing 2-year-olds type feel, and she won't win another race. And I remember the Moya, Gary had gone down to Melbourne for it, as you guys know, but I remember setting the alarm to wake up to get to track quick early in the morning the next day. Bloody late at night when you're doing,
9 o'clock,
2:30, 3 o'clock start, and watching that race. And I remember crying. It was just out of relief.
It was very emotional.
It was mayhem.
Yeah.
It was that, it was.
We were down there.
Yeah.
That day. It was
There
insane.
were people getting hit in the face, and you guys were losing
on track. You thought we got beat. The angle.
Yeah, we thought we got done.
Yeah.
Well, not that we got done. We thought we didn't make it. Because she hit the line.
Yeah.
We thought we didn't
and
get there.
it wasn't just us. The what was the name of the horse that ran
Fedora.
second? Fedora's owners are going mental.
Yeah, they're going
Lost
And we're
mental.
just kind of going.
Yeah.
And then when they put it up on the screen,
Never in
it was
doubt.
mayhem.
Yeah, McAvoy.
The crowd, not only our crowd, the crowd just erupted. It was just, it was
I think
insane.
there were someone ended up with a cut on their face.
Yeah, that was me. High five and Gary Portelli.
someone-
We missed hands and I hit him in the face.
Someone ended up with ribs rearranged and a
yeah.
little bit of chiropractic treatment needed. But no, really exciting.
That party went for
And,
days, apparently.
And then, of course, that led to, well, there's a little brother going to go through the sales.
Yep.
Time to Reign, and Gary saw it at the farm. You guys had been, you're like, we've got to buy this horse. We've got to buy this horse, Gary.
Well, and we thought we were a chance because he was by Time for War, who was our stallion. So we thought,
Well, there was the connection because Gary Bashel obviously bred She Will Reign, stayed in, bred Time to Reign.
Yeah.
And Jilly Henderson, who on her farm, Nuji Park, had always said the moment he was born, he was a cracker.
Yeah.
Just kept saying to me, he's a cracker. Quirky, but a cracker.
He was,
he was quirky.
He was a very
And you kind of like, oh, well, it's going to sell well, She Will Reign. But She Will Reign hadn't won the slipper. She'd only won the nursery by the time he went through in January. She won the slipper that year. But I remember even Yarraman Park got involved because they were going to prep it. And Time to Reign, he came over, inspected, and he said, he could be a proper horse. He's got the shape, the strength. Then Gary Portelli got involved, inspected him.
Yep, we saw him up there.
Yeah.
And once again, who did we outbid to buy that horse? We spoke about it in another podcast. It was Mick Malone. From Kitchman Hills.
Wow.
Time
for War, who he was standing at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wanted, obviously, one of the best sons of Time for War.
Time for War, that's right.
And he sent us all the way to 325.
That was the most you'd ever spent on a horse at that stage, wasn't it? I remember that being a thing. Yeah.
Just a beautiful horse, quirky horse.
Yeah.
Grew so much from the sales to his first start in late October.
Yeah.
Kirkham Plate
beat Bivouac.
Yeah.
What's your earliest memories of Time to Reign from the other side of the fence with Gary?
Yeah.
How did he track in? She Will Reign.
Just speed. I think that was the bit. Beautiful mover, lovely, clean actioned horse.
Yeah. Did you get the feel of She Will Reign again, or not the same? Like, she was freakish speed.
Model, slightly different model. I think he was a pretty hard travelling horse as well in track work, and so it was a lot about trying to contain that energy, rather than just letting him loose and overdoing it. But he was a gorgeous horse. He was strapped by one guy the whole way through. He was just one of those that needed a little bit of extra TLC. Yep. And when you went into a parade ring, he grew an extra hand, and he almost melted down a couple of times on the big days. Silver Slipper, absolutely dripping head to toe, and you're thinking, we've just got to get this horse around the yard in one piece, let alone, what's he going to do on the track? And of course, great win. Really dominant and running against quality horses. If you look back through what he beat, and he's in the same fields as you mentioned, Bivouac, and yes.
Yeah.
I think you talk about the different models. So She Will Reign, Time to Reign, both out of the mare Courgette.
Yep.
Charge Forward, who Mark talked about breaking in and she won a city race. She Will Reign looked more like Courgette
Yeah.
and had this untold speed.
Yeah.
That's right.
Time to Reign looked more like your Schnitzel,
Schnitzely.
which was Time
That's
for War.
right.
Yeah.
But we always said, like, Time for War was a neat, not overly big, athletic. He's a really nice horse. Time to Reign was like a beast version of him. Like,
Yeah.
bigger,
Just a bigger
stronger.
version. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, when he was obviously early days in his career, he wasn't, but once he got to a 3-year-old, he was just a huge powerhouse
Big
of a
horse,
horse.
wasn't
Well, just in terms of he was strong.
Yeah.
You know?
he? Yeah, big horse.
What about the ups and downs with Time to Reign? So we win the first 2 starts and beat some good horses.
Yep.
And we tip him out and we're getting ready for another slipper. We think, here we go again. You're kidding me. Another
slipper runner.
So Gary brings him back.
Yep.
Just the one trial and about it. He's really starting to know he's a bit of a bull.
Yep.
We go in the Lonhro Plate.
Yeah.
And at this stage, we've sold 25% of the horse to Kitchwin Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their partners.
So you're really hoping, I know from my point of view, who had to do the sell, and part of those were my shares that I'd held on to. And I felt that pressure because you wanted him to do so well for the new owners, for the existing owners.
Yeah.
And he kind of failed, not failed, but he pulled hard. Over-raced.
Yeah.
Runs
Burned
fourth.
himself out. Yeah.
And we all drop.
Yeah.
You know, I know Mick dropped.
Yeah.
All his investors, we all were like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Microphone. No, Bivouac won the race, didn't he? Or was it Microphone? Good. It was a very good horse. I can't. No,
that was the other. Sorry,
it was a Darley horse. It was one of those
in the silver slipper.
It was one of those good horses.
Yeah. Was it Mike? No.
It might have been Microphone. But it comes out for the silver slipper, and I was starting to doubt.
Well, I remember the silver slipper, how much it had dented everyone, because like I was racing manager at that point. No one turned up.
Yeah.
Mick never came.
I didn't go.
No, you didn't come. No one came. And because to sort was red hot.
Yeah.
He was the
he won
best.
his first start by a long way.
He was the second coming, Godolphin, the big colt. He is just the slipper favourite. He's going to kill everybody. And it was like, wow. And then Time to Reign just donkey licked him. And it was just like, wow.
It's interesting. And I can see your feelings around that journey, having the pressure of the owners, and that I was one step removed, remember? So it's just, I was probably thinking, get over it.
Yeah.
He's a champion.
Get over it.
What are you on about? He's going to be a star. And you guys are going, oh, we didn't win. I thought we were going to win the slipper.
Well, I suppose put in context too, we run second in the slipper with Yankee Rose, 16, win the slipper 17 with She Will Reign. This is 2019. It's 2 years later.
You're ready for another slipper winner.
You're kind of expecting when they run like that.
Yeah.
But this time we got the added pressure of bringing the bigwigs.
Yeah, that's right.
To invest in the horse we really believe in.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and fails there, but then totally redeems himself. But it was just up and down.
It was.
You know, fifth in the golden
big
slipper.
Big run in the golden slipper. Yeah.
Run.
On that.
Second colt home behind Microphone.
Yeah, it was a massive run, the slipper. If he'd only jumped, he was slow away, went sideways, took out a couple
of horses. You know what? A lot of that, because I had to go, instead of being on the owner's side, poor old Time to Reign was having a little meltdown in the mounting yard as per usual. So I actually ran in there, was on the other side of him.
Yeah, I remember
and we were just doing our darndest to get him around there in one piece.
Yeah.
Remember, girl story now, the most expensive pair of heels I owned at that stage, I wore that day.
Hey.
Ruined them.
Oh,
Absolutely ruined them.
Listen, that is nothing. We're coming in for our slipper. This is the famous red wine day. We come in a limo. We've done this before. We know how to do it good. We're going to go in a limo this time.
We know how to rock
Have a good time. Everyone's in there. We're singing to our songs. We're just going to enjoy the day. Time to Reign.
Yeah.
I'm having a little red wine. What does he do? Bang, all over me.
I went for another high five and missed and hit his cup and it went all over his red
I'm having to speak to all the big players in this horse, plus the owners with it. jacket done up, going,
red wine stain all over his white shirt.
So you don't worry about your
Heels.
Your heels.
Yeah, my Ferragamos, thank you, straight through the grate on the side of the mounting yard.
Outstanding.
I'd be happy to ruin 20 pairs of them, though, to win a slipper.
Yeah, you wouldn't you?
But,
Take the lot.
But recapping, because it all kind of fell apart after that, and we'll talk about that in a second, but wins his first 2 races on David, beating some great horses.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Wins the Silver Slipper.
Yep.
And runs a terrific race, and that's why he now stands at stud. We finally found a home for him because he's a cracking type of horse.
Gorgeous.
He's a half to a Golden Slipper winner, and he was a proper 2-year-old. And then it just fell apart in his
Didn't quite get him through to that 3-year-old success.
You were involved with that. And what did you believe where went amiss?
Yeah, I remember I actually went on an overseas holiday over to Europe, and I remember still, you'd get your Wi-Fi connection when you get to your next hotel and going, oh, there's an update on Time to Reign. I've got to listen to that. And unfortunately, he got sick.
That's right. Yeah.
Spring.
And it was just a, bit of mucus and just the standard stuff, nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
And it meant it just jumbled us up with barrier trials and getting him to the races, and a keen going horse anyway, and you just, trying to contain the energy. And unfortunately, from there on out, it sort of just fell apart for him. But it's such a shame because you believe so much in a horse like that.
We had so much talent, so much raw talent.
I didn't think we'd seen the best of him either.
No, I think there was definitely that feeling.
Because I don't think he was She Will Reign, just brilliant 2-year-old. I think he was a horse that was going to get better.
He had more scope.
That illness set him back.
For sure. That was the gut feel, was that he was going to get further than her, but we never got the opportunity to see it. But nowadays, fast forward, as you said, standing at stud, King Star.
Yeah.
Believed in him, and now we've got some gorgeous little Time to Reign.
And let me tell you, only went up a couple of weeks ago, sent the photos through to the group. I breed myself, as you know. Had a look at, I've got 3 Time to Reign foals. One is out of a first, was out of a maiden mare. Okay, but 2 cracking. Geez, the same shape, same strength.
Yeah, he's throwing good types.
Oh, he's got to be a chance. He really does. I know you could be talking through your heart, but I truly believe with his 2-year-old precocity, the way he was built, who he's related to, that there was something about him, and I don't think we saw the best of him, and hopefully we'll see it through his progeny.
Yeah, definitely.
And, of course, you had Time for War, and that wasn't meant to be.
No.
But how important is it to have
died,
those key horses with your Darby brand attached? Yankee Rose, what are her foals doing now? That's just unreal.
Yeah, phenomenal, incredible.
The Oaks and you got She Will Reign, her progeny selling for millions left, right and centre.
Yeah.
It's changing the breeding space as well.
Yeah,
all
incredible.
From syndicated horses.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So it's a fair build up to coming to work for Darby Racing, but let's reminisce how you started. We were expanding once again, coming off the back of all that success. It was hard to keep up with, and wanted to place Mark into sales. I thought that was we can see now it's a masterstroke.
What?
A reluctant Mark at the time.
Oh well, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't. I think
he thought it was a demotion, but
I wasn't impressed. I was like, sales. I feel like I'm running the joint here, like trying to get these winners, but he finally said to me, I ended up saying to him, whatever you want me to do.
Yeah.
You just put me where you want me. And he said, I really want you in sale. I need you in sale. And the key line that sold me was, if we don't sell these horses, there's nothing to manage.
Yeah.
And when he said that to me, it was kind of like, okay, you got me. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And now, I thank him all the time, because the racing manager's job, you can have it because it is so demanding. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Ease up a bit.
I'm telling you.
Ease up. We want working after this.
I've done it.
You don't have to tell me.
It is, and the anxiety and you cannot switch your brain off.
Can you see this little?
Yeah,
wrinkles?
you cannot. I'm
changed a
telling you,
lot. It changed
like
a lot.
when you're entrenched in it,
Yeah.
you've got your blinkers on and you're managing everything and you're doing it and you feel like you're doing this sometimes.
I remember you saying you were juggling.
I think I've got them all. I think I've got everything covered.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where I couldn't sleep properly at night because you'd wake up in the middle of the night and go, "Did I put that update out?" And you're on your phone going through and go, "I think."
And it doesn't stop, right?
No.
Like
So
any
it is
hour of the
relentless.
morning, night, whatever, there is no switch off.
And how good is it when one of your team members or your boss comes in, you know this, and go, "Why hasn't this gone?"
Here we go.
Why hasn't
He hasn't had an update, that horse.
Yeah.
I'm
What's
sure I
going
just
on
put one
here?
out.
Or, one of the owners go, "I've had no updates on time to rain for a month." And you go, "That doesn't sit real." And he'd go, "What?"
Get on there.
And you'd get up and go, "There was one went out last week." And you'd look and they haven't opened it. And they'd go, "Sorry, I didn't see that.
I didn't get that.
Didn't open it."
So we needed a racing manager. We
You
put
did?
him into sales as a master. I must say, I look back now and say it was a master because sales went through the roof. The front man, the lead singer, took the duck to water.
Yeah, it's great now.
But we need a racing manager.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell the truth here because I don't think it came out early on. We'd seen you
this will
at
be good.
Gary's.
This
We'd
will be
seen you
good.
at Gary's, and I think between Paula was working for us at the time, Paula, and I spoke to you
Paul
about.
was mine.
That's
I
right.
said, I think Loren would be a great racing manager. She's just, but what are you going to do? Like, Gary's one of our trainers. You're not going to go and poach her.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So we come up with a master plan on the spur of the moment.
Because there've been interviews and people come in
Yeah.
and they just weren't right.
Yeah.
It was like, no, they're just not.
So I said, I think all we can do is ask Loren, does she know anyone?
Yeah.
So two things. She's either going to know someone as good as her,
Yeah.
or she's going to go, I wouldn't mind doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's how it happened. We said, do you know anyone that could be a racing manager? And you said, I may know someone.
Because the racing manager position for Darby Racing or a syndicator, especially Darby Racing, like we've got 130 horses. So you've got to have knowledge
Plus the rest.
You've got to have knowledge of the industry. You've got to have veterinary sort of knowledge and understanding of horses with injuries that happen to manage them. You've got to have a good disposition. You've got to have a phenomenal temperament to handle everything that comes at you and be able to turn up to the races and go, "Hello, hi, how you been? Good," even though you're having a tough day or a horse is sick or or this is happening and that's happening. So you've got to have a great temperament to handle it all. So it's not easy to
I need to step up
find.
my hello, I think.
Well, you do. I've seen you there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So we floated the idea and you didn't tell us somebody else. You said, I might know somebody. Tell us your thought process when we...
Oh, yeah.
threw
So,
that-
yeah. I think
Something dangling there. What is that?
What is that?
Darby
Exactly.
Racing on it.
I didn't realise. So here's the thing. I was going these early hours of track work starts and whatnot, and
So the truth's coming out
going
to your
to
side now.
all to the races and all of that. Thinking this is life consuming.
Yeah.
I don't have any responsibilities as far as partner, kids, really even pets. I've got one now, but we'll touch on that maybe later. But I didn't have anything else other than I knew I needed to free up some time. And so I thought, oh, well, that'd be great, get it away from the stable life and onto more the management and administration side and don't have to go to track work.
Yeah.
Don't have to go to all the race meetings. Little did I know that I'd be doing just as many hours and be taking on even more responsibility, but still love it. You've got to. Otherwise, you couldn't do this job.
No, you couldn't.
No. Well, how long have I been here now?
4 years?
Yeah.
4 years.
Maybe. Heading
4
to 5,
years.
maybe.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
long in the tooth.
So it flies when you're having fun, so.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we tell ourselves. Yeah, no, absolutely love it. And I think as well, even joining up with you guys. It's very rare that you get a family feel in amongst your sort of workmates, and how often we bounce ideas off one another, and we're on the phone continually about different things, and I love the feeling. You've sort of got the ability to run your own race with it. You've got support. It's a whole team thing. And
I think we call it family when you're on the phone that much with each other, that we're, each of us, it starts to go echoey when you're on the phone. You're like, are you going to the toilet? What are you talking to me?
I'm busting. Sorry, I got to go. Like, I'm just going to on mute for a second.
Yeah, that's family.
Yeah.
No, just quickly what we're doing.
Yeah, fine, go. Yeah. Anyway, what are we going to do with that horse?
Can't ring you back. Keep going. Because most of us work remotely now. I'm barely in the office. Work remote. Everybody knows their role. We meet up. So, it's expanded. You took on the role. You took it like duck to water. Obviously, going through the experience, you always were going to do that. But we're expanding again, and where we're at today, we bring on Amy as your assistant to help with. I know you're a bit apprehensive about bringing on an offsider. You like control.
Yeah, but I got to pick who it was going to be, and
you certainly picked well. Yeah. She's been a great fit.
She's terrific.
Because it is a role that it was the same when Paula Newnham come on to help me. Like once that person comes on and does all the, that frees the racing manager up to solely concentrate on the horses.
Oh,
you drop the ticketing and the acceptances and noms and all that sort of stuff, and you can solely concentrate on the horses and ringing the trainers and all that. It's just before that happens, you kind of go, I can't do this. It's too much.
Well, you also used to be able to record audio updates in the car.
Yeah.
You will remember that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you touch your phone, you've got a fine, you've got demerits, and you lose your license. Yeah. So in terms of being on the go, trying to go to see the horses at the stables, the farms, trials, races, a lot of your time is actually spent in the car. Yeah. Being able to call Amy at home base and we need to get this out. Can you help me with this? She'll be typing away furiously while I'm on the phone to her. And it just gets that much more done, and she's doing a terrific job, and hopefully
who would have thought, like back in the day, if you remember, we're just all in the office every single day, unless you're sick or going to track work, whatever, everyone was in the office annoying each other. Today, here we are at the offices, but you have Steve in there, you have Amy there sometimes, you're there sometimes, I'm kind of maybe there once a fortnight. Everything's remote. Lauren Elvins works from Queensland. In administration. We have Carolyn in the accounts up in Queensland. Everything's spread apart, and that's what COVID did.
COVID changed everything like that.
It did.
Well, I remember when it initially hit, it was like, oh wow, how are we going to do this? But it was teething a little bit early, but then it was just like, wow, this is smooth. Nothing's changing.
You've just hit like a little bit of PTSD for me, I reckon. Remember the COVID lockdown, everyone in their house, and the horses are still racing, and they're still, and you've got contingency plans to get them out to paddocks in case the whole thing folds, just collapses. And Scott Darby came up with the great idea that we were going to do video updates.
That's right, I remember that. Yeah.
What was wrong with that?
I could have strangled you. It's it. So I had to sit there in my house with the little phone set up.
You loved it.
Good morning, everyone.
You needed to get that contact because people weren't seeing you. That was the era of red wine, watching long series of
Walking Dead, and
Game of Thrones, because I hadn't watched it. Yeah, that were good memories to bring
up. You were doing that. I was doing video updates.
That's at night time. Thanks very much. I'm in the office during the day, of course. But no, good memories, and it's funny what COVID did bring. Wrapping everything up, Loren, it's been great having you on board, and what you've brought to the team, professionalism, experience. I think one thing I'd like to touch on at the end is not only some horses that really stick out to you in a brief situation. But talking about from the management side, we talk about, we charge a management fee, and I guess some people really see value in that. Some people kind of scoff at it, but your veterinary background, the racing side, not just yourself, but the whole team. There's a lot of things that get managed that people just don't even see.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it firsthand because we're always in contact, particularly on a veterinary issue. It might be an example of giving a trainer a different perspective and heading a different way because they've got a stack of horses.
Yeah.
But I think one thing, the dedication you've got for the job, your knowledge, your passion, I think if people could see what happens in the background, they'd pay you double the management fee, so to speak. Like, I think it's one of the most things underestimated in syndication, well, particularly in Derby racing, is what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think there are ways you could do it, which would be a lot less, time intensive. You could do a hands-off approach and still charge your management fees, but we try to get out to the spelling farms every week and see them and how they're progressing, and it's the little things that we work with a terrific farm in Wild Oaks, and they look after the horses and have them turned out beautifully, but there'll be little things along the way where we're just constantly chipping away. That needs to do a bit better. That's going to go on the water walker. We're going to pre-train that differently. We're going to get that one back up to the educators. So you're continually across how the horses are progressing, changing it when needed, getting vets out, getting chiropractors, you name it, we're across all of that when the trainer's focus is predominantly on the horse in their stable, right?
Yeah.
So we're picking up the slack along the way. We often talk about when do you get involved and when do you leave your trainer to their own devices.
Yeah.
And this will be something you're very familiar with as well. Yeah. It's one thing to go, oh, should we pop a nomination in for such and such a race? Everyone can do that, but just even asking the questions that might be a bit more thought-provoking about a horse or what the overall game plan is. And I probably, it's something that our owners wouldn't even be aware of what's happening. And it's not something that you're really strong on. Sometimes it's just a suggestion.
Yeah. We had one we mentioned today about Saturday, and it was no big deal. But I'd done the form that morning and thinking, man, behind the money can win Saturday. Damn, sweet. Look, $7. Looks like he can win that. And then I saw a couple of owners saying, are we going to Doomben?
Yeah.
So I want to organise flights. Didn't think much. Then the nominations come out for Canterbury.
Yep.
And I went, I don't think we're going to Doomben, yet I think we can win this race. Then you ring and say, oh, no, they're thinking of going to Canterbury. And I'm like, I don't normally get involved, but I call it sort of the 80%. You leave to the trainer, 90% even.
Yeah.
Every now and then, it's not that you tell them what to do, but that suggestion. And I thought, I think we're mad if we don't go to this race.
You almost got away with it, Scotty.
And they went that way. It was no big deal. It was only a suggestion. I didn't say you had to go there.
Yep. Started favourite.
I said that as well. I said, this thing will start favourite. Backed into favourite. We didn't win the race, but we should have won the race.
Absolutely.
The moral of the story is management. There is so much more going on. You'll know it. You particularly know it now than what people see. They only see what comes out on the audio.
That's it.
We'd be there forever doing updates. What's planning? We've got a horse at the moment about to launch. Well, I don't know when this podcast goes to air, but a horse like Osmosis, one of the most exciting two-year-olds out for a while. The planning you and I have been discussing.
Yeah.
I think it's more because me coming from the sales side, now, for whatever reason, the management fee is a real stickler for some people.
It is,
and they're talking to the wrong person. Although I'm a sales manager, I've been the racing manager, and I understand the work that goes into being the racing manager. And people can be quite, $18 a week. You're kidding, right? Like what? But it's kind of like you've got no idea. Like because the trainers, yes, they predominantly when the horse is in there, they predominantly handle the horse. But you do also have to micromanage the trainers.
Yeah.
Because the trainer, I know you'll be the same. I used to get an update from the trainer. Yeah, such and such he's just got a bit of a thing today, and what we'll do is we'll follow up at the end of the week, and you'd go, he won't follow it up. So then you've got to jot it in your diary, follow him up, because they will not follow it up. The owners will then so it starts a snowball.
Mm-hmm.
Also with that is the minute that horse leaves the stable, the trainer forgets about it.
That's it.
So it's all up to us to manage that horse while it's spelling, what we can do for it, chiros, anything, other stuff we need to do with it. How's it spelling?
Dates.
Is it struggling? Is it struggling in the paddock? Is it eating well? How's it doing? Should we swap paddocks? Should we put it with another mate? There's so much that goes into managing a horse that we charge that little bit for.
Yeah.
So when people say to me, you $18 a week, is there any chance you could wipe that? It's like, no, mate. That is how we make our living.
Yeah.
We don't charge a great deal on the sale of the horse.
And you've
There's
got to
about
remember,
$10,000 in a package of a horse.
That's true.
Profit. Like, there's not a lot of money in it. How we make our living is the $18 a week that we charge. And that is made up of all the work that you do. Again, good job, because it's hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it just comes back to the sheer number of owners that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So,
and what are you paying the $18 for? You're paying for our knowledge. We don't just let those horses go and sit in paddocks for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We identify, we're in constant contact with the spelling farms. How's he doing? How's she doing? What are we? You draw on your experience.
Yep.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we try that? Why don't we do that? Why don't we try? It's all based around our experience of doing it, and that's what you're paying for.
For sure. And there's systems that, like, I've picked up along the way that you guys have implemented for years through Darby, and it just worked.
Yeah.
You know, even with horses going into town when they're first broken in, we have a pattern that we follow. Our imports now, some go straight into town practically, you know, some need that little bit of extra time before they even reach the trainers. We change trainers. You know, that's one of the beauties of coming through a syndicator, is that sometimes that important decision needs to be made, and we give them the freedom to do that. If you buy in through a trainer direct, you don't have that option.
I think that'd be an interesting docker. You've given me the idea of a day in the life of a racing manager. Follow a racing manager over a month period in different. You'd be interested to see what it is. But look, we're running out of time. Let's just finish with your favourite horse in Derby racing, or maybe a horse outside of Derby racing in the past. What's a horse that sticks out to you?
I think I would know the favourite horse.
Oh, not the teddy bear.
No.
Not the retiree, the current one.
You were riding him the other day.
Yeah, no, that's the teddy bear. Harpo Marx.
You took a small share in Harpo.
I did.
Import stayer.
Yeah.
Stakes winner, Group 1 place.
Well, I wanted you to buy the horse, so I kind of had to put my money where the mouth was. So, yeah, obviously outstanding pedigree on him. Bought him out as an entire. Ended up gelding, of course. 100% of the bills now.
Yeah.
Retired from his career. Highlight was the third in the Group 1 Sydney Cup.
Yep.
Didn't get to a Melbourne Cup.
But you had a nice little ride the other day too.
Yes, so he's been a good boy in retirement, actually. We're just tiddlywinks in the arena at this stage, walk and trot, nothing.
But went on a trial ride the other day, he told me, and led the way, and he was a good boy.
Chased some wild goats.
Yeah.
No, it's an exciting phase for them. Rehoming, there's another thing that we could delve into. Big part of the job, and finding them some beautiful
Loren, don't even start with rehoming horses. That's a big job.
But, no, well worthwhile, and they all deserve it. So.
Absolutely, they do.
Now I'm going to give you...
I was going to go with another favourite.
Yes.
Yeah. Who is it?
Can I go with Goldman?
Goldie.
He's going to get a lot of mentions, I
Goldie.
bet, as he's come up on the podcast before, I'm sure.
Whilst on holidays, got to go and inspect him?
I did. So I went back. Actually, it's a bit of a traumatic time for the family. Went back for a memorial, and I don't think I've been on a trip recently back to NZ that hasn't been steamrolled into looking at horses experience.
You've become the New Zealand bloodstock agent for Darby Racing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping by the time this airs that Canadian Ruler, which we bought as a yearling.
Yeah.
Was that a holiday as well? How many holidays do you have?
She does get a
It
lot.
was a
of
work
holidays.
trip,
That one
Scott.
was a memorial. That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's not get
Yeah.
excited about a funeral, but
What are holidays, by the way?
no, but we don't have those. We have work trips and
Yeah.
not much else. But no, hoping Canadian Ruler can do something. He's obviously done really well at the trials. But Goldman, yeah, we got the call from Bruce Slade, wasn't it? He'd been identified by Rob Waterhouse, and I obviously Rob knew his stuff through working at Gai's, and they got Fiorente over, and I knew the hype around him, and it came out second in the Melbourne Cup the first year, won it the next. That's just freakish. So when they mentioned Goldman, he'd only won the 2 races in NZ, and you're sort of looking at the form, trying to match it up to here.
Mm-hmm.
And I called Bruce, and I was like, I'm in NZ. He said, go and have a look at it. You tee it up tomorrow and you can go down and have a look. So Mum and Dad in the car, and, early morning drive down to Matamata, and they're thinking, what the heck is going on here?
You were that excited.
I was so excited.
You loved the horse, and yet the photos came through. And let's call it, buying Goldman was an absolute punt, because
you would have been terrified.
We're going off the ratings, right? The White Marlin story, which we told, and Fiorente. And never heard of Verdi, but he's by Zabel.
Yeah, Verdi.
4 starts in New Zealand for 2 wins, but who knows, who cares?
Yeah.
It's the ratings, right?
Yeah.
So you're excited, you're pumped.
I watched the race replays too.
Yeah, right.
And he's got that beautiful big action,
Beautiful
right?
action.
Like when he went for home, he really picked them up, and
Lovely action horse.
all the rest look like they're standing still. And then you see him in the flesh, and
He's a beanstalk.
He's a bit of a beanstalk.
And that's what the photos.
I remember. Well, yeah, obviously I didn't do a great job on the photos, but he's like a big lean athlete, right?
Yeah.
Stay.
He's a marathon runner, not a
Well,
sprinter.
to set it up more, we'd had a tough year selling.
Yep.
He comes at the end of November, December.
Yeah.
I float the ideas, as I normally do. I've got these brainwave ideas.
Mark would have been going, leave me alone.
Really? I've got to sell? I said, mate, this is the future.
There's a birdie. Do you want it? Who?
We've got to do
birdie?
more tried horses, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go again. And it's a massive pump, because if we don't have terms with a sales company here to stretch it over 6 months or something, you got to pay it up front. I'm about to be out of pocket if we can't sell this 165 grand New Zealand horse. But then the photos come over, and I'm like, oh, wow.
And at that stage, I just had the heart eyes on. I went, Scott, don't worry about Verdi. Don't even look him up. It's a Zabeel, looks like a Zabeel, and it'll stay.
Yeah.
It just
we
looked
remain
like
confident.
It would stay all day.
Yeah.
And I remember, because I'm pushing Scott, come on, let's buy this horse.
Which of the internal pushing on the mark.
And I'm going, but just think how much you'd have to spend on a yearling at Magic Millions, because you've got Magics coming up in January.
Yeah.
Just think, average price will be, whatever. We want to spend
300,000
on a good colt.
Yeah.
And you don't even know if it'll gallop, here's a racehorse he's won 2 mile races. He looks like he'll stay all day. Gai's sent out, I think she sent out that note, I'll be able to improve him
50 lengths.
6 lengths
She
or
always
something
said,
straight
"I'll
off the bat.
improve it."
You got to love the confidence.
Okay.
But we
Confidence,
we all remain confident. I know the first week of selling didn't sell a share, and I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to be racing a New Zealand horse.
Yeah.
Which I wish I was now. But
You wish you were, absolutely.
But look, we're running out of time. He could be a freak.
He could be afraid,
and from nowhere.
Didn't show much at the trials.
No.
Yeah, obviously there at the trials with Adrian, and we're going, oh, well, 3rd trial, he's doing okay. We've got to race it now, really. And you're looking through, and you're going 2,000 metres first up, and he's going to carry the grandstand. And I'm going, oh, my goodness, have I suggested the right thing? And Adrian's like, yeah, okay, we'll go there. And Regan tried. And
we weren't confident, were we?
The price threw me. I had to do that pre-race in the morning, called you and for a bit of support, going, are we way off the mark here? Yeah, I think he was 31.
Yeah,
I think my words were, I just hope we run well, because you get people into a horse, I just hope you run well.
I don't know if you saw the pre-race, but Wayne Harris was onto it. He said, something's going on here.
Well,
something's going on here.
Flooded.
She's got blinkers on him.
Yeah.
He's had 3 trials.
Yeah.
and there's a little bit of money for it. Something's going on here.
Yeah,
And he was right. Well,
It wouldn't have-
we were oblivious.
we weren't.
That's
No,
for
we were
sure.
still like,
No, I
geez.
mean, in hindsight, it wouldn't have mattered what we started it off in like, he could have gone to any race and won it beyond a mile, I believe. But, just what an exciting ride. And then, you just push a little bit harder. Let's step up and grade. And a big call from you in particular, Scott, I know we spoke at length about going to another race and potentially messing his rating up for the future. And the Roy Bob Hoisted was there.
Yeah.
Roy Higgins.
Roy Higgins. Sorry, I'm looking at the trophy.
Wrong train.
Oh, we just
trophy.
ring so many stakes races, you forget about which one it is, eh?
Won them all. That was a big call to press onto that race, and with it being ballot exempt for the Melbourne Cup, to get a golden ticket into it.
Well, after the first two starts, you don't get involved too often, and just like Yankee Rose, I felt something freakish there. I felt something freakish with She Will Reign. You don't feel it with many horses.
No.
Those first two starts at Goldman, particularly even the first, I thought we had something pretty freakish.
What could that be?
You could look pretty stupid if you come out. And I remember ringing Gai and suggesting a couple of big end races, and they settled on the Roy Higgins, which was just the perfect race. I didn't think many of us knew it was a qualifier for the Melbourne Cup. It was the perfect race. And hopefully he'll be there in November, the first Tuesday. And that's your favourite horse at the moment?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think as well, even, the full round circle moment for my family too, Mum and Dad going, what are you getting yourself into in terms of getting into horse racing?
Yeah.
To now seeing that process of going over to NZ now, I'm not taking credit for identifying him, but to go down, look at a horse that just looks like any other bay horse, and then now be headed to one of the best races you can target in the world, let alone the country, and it all fits together. What we're doing, what we're trying to achieve, taking big groups of owners along for that journey. It's easy to get passionate. I know your mum and your parents as well, what have you got coming up running? It's that enthusiasm. They're fully committed to the ride now and absolutely love it. So
it is something I try to, like I've told you a number of times, because how hard that job is, and we all go through tough times, when you can't sell, and horses and tough, and owners, and
you lose one.
You lose a bit of we are all truly blessed to be doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And you do have to remind yourself of that sometimes and say, this is a heck of a job.
Yeah.
And the rewards that we get along the way are that's all justified from all the hard work that we do.
Well, we love having you as the racing manager, Loren, and let's hope we can get many more wins together and continue the upward spiral with Darby racing.